Getting Started at the Piano, Faber Accelerated Piano Adventures, pages 5 through 14. Before we begin, we need to know how to sit at the piano. First of all, check your distance. Sit straight and tall on the front half of the bench. With your arms straight, your knuckles should reach the fall board, the wooden part of the piano just above the keys. If your arms bend when you do this, move your bench back some. If you have to lean forward, adjust the bench forward. Next, we want to relax our shoulders and place our hands gently on the keys. When you do this, your forearms should be level with the keys and mostly parallel to the ground. Make sure your arms don't sag down at the wrists. Finally, check your posture. Take a nice deep breath and let it out. Sit tall, but with shoulders down and relaxed. This is your position for playing the piano. Next, we will learn about finger numbers. Each finger is given a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Looking at the diagram here, we can tell that thumbs are number 1, index fingers are number 2, middle fingers are number 3, ring fingers are number 4, and pinkies are number 5. Finger numbers will be very important as we begin learning to play, so make sure you memorize the number for each finger. Also, keep your fingernails trimmed so you can easily play on your fingertips. You'll want to play on the part of your fingers that you use to type on a computer or press a button on your phone. Now let's talk about hand position. Our hands should stay in a relaxed, curved position when we play. Imagine that the palms of your hands are resting gently on your knees with your fingers curved naturally. Keeping your hands in that same position, rest your fingers gently on the keyboard. Your thumb and index fingers should be very close together and wrists should be relaxed and flexible. When you play the keys, you will use the tips of your finger. Again, the same part you use to type on a computer or to push a button on your phone. And you will use the side tip of your thumb. Let's examine the piano keyboard. It has white keys and black keys. These keys form a pattern. You can find the pattern by looking for the groups of 2 black keys, then the groups of 3 black keys. For instance, here are 2 black keys. Here are 3 black keys. Now imagine that the keyboard is a long staircase of 88 keys. As we move to the right of the keyboard, the notes get higher. So moving to the right means moving up the staircase. As we move to the left of the keyboard, the notes get lower. So moving to the left means moving down the staircase. Let's try playing our first song. Before we do, we're going to learn an Italian word that means loud. That word is forte. Forte is the Italian word for loud, and so when we see this symbol here in our music, it means to play loudly. Here we go. We're going to play wind chimes for right hand. I'll start by finding the 2 black keys in the center of my keyboard. Using fingers 2 and 3 of my right hand, I'm going to play those black keys. Then I'm going to make a slight rainbow with my arm, with my wrist, go up to the next 2 black keys, a little rainbow, the next 2, and then finally the last 2, which you can't see on my camera. Let's try that together. Play, rainbow, play, rainbow, play, rainbow, play, and stop. Now we're going to try that with our left hand. Before we do, let's learn the Italian word for quiet. It is piano. Sound familiar? Piano is the Italian word for quiet. And so when we see this symbol in our music, we're going to play softly or quietly. Let's try playing wind chimes for left hand. I'm going to find those same 2 black keys in the center of my keyboard, this time using my left hand, fingers 2 and 3. I'm going to play, then I make a little rainbow, play, rainbow, play, and then rainbow, play. Very nice. Moving on, Let's talk about the music alphabet. Each white key has a name from the music alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, or G. Once we reach the note G, we start over again from A. As you can see in the picture here, the pattern continues all the way up the keyboard. The black keys will help us name the white keys correctly. Find any group of 2 black keys. Look carefully at the 3 white keys around those 2 black keys. These keys are named C, D, and E. Can you find all the C's, D's, and E's on your keyboard? Now, let's find any group of 3 black keys. The 4 white keys around those 3 black keys are named F, G, A, and B. Can you find all the F, G's, A's, and B's on your keyboard? Rhythm is very important in music. Music has long sounds and short sounds. We count the long and short sounds with a steady beat or pulse. This creates rhythm. Let's begin learning some easy rhythms. Here on our rhythm flag, we see a whole note. A whole note is held for 4 beats. It sounds like this. 2, 3, 4. Here we have 2 half notes. A half note is held for 2 beats. 2 half notes sound like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. Finally, we have 4 quarter notes. A quarter note is held for 1 beat. 4 quarter notes sound like this. In music, we group beats into measures. Each measure has the same number of beats. Bar lines divide the music into measures. In this example, we can see there are 4 beats per measure. Let's try a warm-up before we play rhythm and blues. For this warm-up, we're going to find the notes C and E on our keyboard, right in the middle of our keyboard, and using fingers 1 and 3, we will play those 2 keys together. Now, making a slight rainbow, I'm going to move up to F and A. Then I'm going to lift my wrist again, making a very tiny rainbow, back to E and C, F and A. Practice that movement several times until you feel comfortable with it. Giving the wrist a slight lift as you shift your fingers back and forth. Now you're ready to play rhythm and blues. We will play the notes written as we count the rhythm carefully. Notice the double bar line at the end of the piece. This tells us that we have reached the end. I'll move my keyboard up here so that you can see, and I will point with my cursor as I play. Fingers 1 and 3 on C and E. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Rainbow. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rainbow. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you've just played your first song on the white keys. In music, an interval is the distance between 2 keys on the piano. The interval of a second is also called a step. It moves up or down to the next key, the next letter name, and the next finger. If we imagine our keyboard as a staircase, we can see the relationship of a second by looking at this picture. Let's find C position so that we can explore seconds. We'll line our fingers up on the keys, starting with our thumb on middle C with the right hand and our pinky on the C below. Line your fingers up 1 finger per key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is C position.